Why do people stop believing in God? Is it because of science? Because of philosophy? Because they don't find God the way they expected? Or because they're afraid? A strange thought. What if disbelief is not rebellion, but defense? What if the fear of God is so deep, so overwhelming, that the only way to escape it is to deny that he exists? The popular story says, atheists are born in the lab, educated by reason, freed from the chains of faith. It's a compelling story, clean, logical, modern. Sam Harris once said he receives letters from people who were argued out of faith. Richard Dawkins built a movement around the idea that disbelief is the final step of intellectual maturity. But is it really so simple? When researchers started to test this, the results weren't what they expected. In some countries, analytical thinkers were less religious. In others, more religious. The correlation was weak and inconsistent. Rationality, it turned out, wasn't the universal road to atheism. If reason alone killed faith, then the world's universities would be cathedrals of disbelief. They're not. So maybe atheism isn't born from logic but from something more human. Studies began to explore other paths. They found 4 main forces that shape faith and its loss: rationality, mentalization, motivation, credibility, not just thinking, but feeling, seeing, and belonging. Because faith is not only an idea, it's a relationship between the self, the unseen, and the society around it. The first path is called mentalization, the ability to imagine the minds of others. When you can picture the feelings, the desires, the invisible thoughts of another, it becomes easier to imagine a consciousness greater than yours. When that ability weakens, God becomes abstract, unreachable, unreal. Maybe some people stop believing not because they can't think, but because they can't feel a mind beyond their own. The second path is motivation. People tend to turn to God when the ground beneath them shakes. War, illness, loss, moments when reason collapses and the heart cries for meaning. But when life is safe, comfortable, predictable, the need for transcendence fades. Atheism often rises not in poverty, but in abundance. And maybe that's not arrogance, maybe it's amnesia. The third path is credibility. We believe what we see lived around us. When people walk the talk, faith multiplies. When religion becomes hypocrisy, it evaporates. Many atheists are not rejecting God, they're rejecting his poor representatives. When priests abuse, when leaders lie, when communities become walls instead of bridges, people leave not theology, but betrayal. And who can blame them? So if atheism isn't born from reason alone, what else feeds it? Maybe it's disappointment, the prayers unanswered, the silence of heaven when suffering knocks. Maybe it's pride, the desire to be self-sufficient, to owe nothing to the divine. Or maybe it's fear, the ancient fear of standing before an infinite mind and realizing how small we are. Some people run toward that truth. Others run from it. Both are human. Religions have known this paradox for millennia. In Christianity, it's said, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But fear here means awe, not terror. It means reverence, not running away. In Islam, faith is submission. Islam itself means surrender, not out of fear, but of peace through acceptance. In Buddhism, disbelief and belief dissolve. What matters is awareness. Enlightenment doesn't reject God, it transcends the question. And in Judaism, the line between belief and doubt is not a war, but a dialogue. Abraham argued with God, Moshe questioned him, Job shouted into the silence, and the Psalms turned fear into music. In Judaism, faith is not blind, it's wrestling and remaining in the ring. As the sages say, among the dead there is freedom, but the living wrestle. So maybe people don't lose faith. Maybe they just stop recognizing what faith really means. Belief isn't certainty, it's courage. It's not knowing, but choosing to trust anyway. Atheism, then, is not the enemy of faith. It's its shadow. It keeps religion honest. It forces us to ask, again and again, why do I believe? Do I live what I say? And maybe, the day we stop asking those questions, we lose God even if we keep his name.